Episode of the CoachIQ Podcast. We have Michelle Toy here. First off, I love the name of your business.
Thank you.
Toy Soldier Training. I think that's very, very cool. We will talk about how you came up with that and where that came from. Of course, it's your last name, but I love that. It's awesome. So I'm going to do a super quick intro about myself. This is a podcast not about me, but my name is Brandon Evans. This is the first time you guys are seeing me as the host. I am also a client of CoachIQ. I own a basketball training gym in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I've been lucky enough to scale it to the point where I have a lot of extra free time, and I joined on with CoachIQ's team, and I'm trying to help other coaches do the same and just kind of help support them. I love CoachIQ and what they do, so I'm excited to be on board. But enough about me. Let's talk about Michelle, let's talk about your journey. Let's start with where you're at right now. So what's your current place? What's your elevator pitch? Like if I walked up to you and said, hey, what do you do? Where are you at right now?
Yeah, no, thank you. And it's great to be on. Thank you for CoachIQ for offering me to be on this. Right now, I currently work out of my house, and it's my facility. I train youth athletes from the ages of 6 years old up to about 17, 18 years old, most of them being in that 8 to 12 range. Mm-hmm. And I mostly focus on speed mechanics, helping young kids get a good foundation starting out in their sports journey, no matter what sport they play, and then starting to dabble a little bit more into strength, as well as, introducing them to strength. Mm-hmm. I've been doing strength, but introducing them to strength. Yeah. Because a lot of parents have that, that conception that, oh, they're too young for strength. And so really it's just movement and understanding movement and can you do it efficiently? So I love it. Absolutely love it.
Very cool. So your house is your facility.
It is. Don't tell.
That's nice. You only have one rent to pay.
Yeah. No, if I could get an actual facility. So I'm in San Jose, California. And just saying California, you guys already know the issue. Price.
Yes.
And so in our area, actually, in San Jose, the hardest thing about getting a facility is going to be zoning. Yeah, price is an issue, but at the end of the day, where a lot of other coaches can have these warehouses and things like that, in San Jose, zoning is light industrial. They actually don't allow fitness centers to be in, industrial parks and things like that. So that really, really limits the ability to really expand in my area. But doesn't mean it won't happen.
Yeah, so. That's so interesting because I'm currently sitting in my gym, which is an industrial warehouse.
There you go.
Rent's very cheap for anybody who's looking for a facility. Look in industrial warehouses if you can. It's very interesting. How is that? Because I'm sure there's somebody else on the platform that might be in the same boat as you. How is running that out of your house, your home?
There's always this pros and cons, right? The pros are that I never have to spend money on gas. I show up 15 minutes before my sessions, right? Just basically by going downstairs. Mm-hmm. The cons are obviously, you're limited by how many people you can have. You can't block traffic, noise-wise. I can't be the loud, energetic coach that I am. If I had my own facility, I could be. And then space, right? I have, a strip of turf that's 10 feet wide and about 45 yards long, which is rare, which is nice. But, the pro is that I'm able to still run my business. I'm not at, I started out at parks. I started out with a lot of different parks, got soccer balls kicked right through our thing. Kids run right through our sessions. Sometimes other people showed up earlier to that spot, so then I didn't get the same spot. Rain, not as much in California. We have gorgeous weather, but, occasionally we have these bouts of rain that, if you're outside at a park, you have to cancel. And so I kind of really wanted to be able to have a spot where no matter what the weather was, I could still train. It wouldn't be the, determining factor whether I could go or not. And so in my yard, I put up 20 yards of tent. And so, on days where it rains or on days where it's super hot, we can still be under the tent and do acceleration.
I think there's something to be said about a coach being able to run their business and be creative within a small space. Like you said, you have 45 yards by, what did you say?
10 feet.
10 feet.
10
okay.
feet
It's even
wide.
Smaller. I think there's something to be said about that. How could you talk a little bit about how you effectively run? Like, how many kids can you fit in that space? Because I actually spent some time with Ryan Rizuki out in California too, San Diego, and he has a basketball gym, and it's tiny. Like, if anybody knows how big a basketball court is, like, it went from the baseline to not even the full 3-point line. Like, it was just a small space, but he runs a great business. And the key to that was designing everything in a way where everything would flow. So, like, how do you handle running your business in such a small space? Like, are you only able to have a couple kids? Are you able to fit 8 to 10 in and still get them all a good workout? Like, what's your process like for that?
Yeah, you actually nailed it with the second one, 8 to 10. So, I mean, if I could have 4 and have a solid business, I think having a smaller group is more ideal, because and more of that is just coach to athlete interaction. But up to littles, so littles I consider like the 6 to 10-year-old range. 8 is kind of the max. Anything more than that, you get a lot of distractions or kids that aren't as focused because they're waiting in line too long. And then with the older kids, middle school, high school kids, 10 to 12. Mostly try to cap it at 10 just because of my space. But 2 lines here and there, constantly organized, having space to know what you want to do. There are times with lines, and with lines, I try to give kids roles. And so with my resistance training, I have a T apex that I use in my yard, but that means that there's constantly a line while kids go. So I try to have kids go twice in a row, so they kind of get the max. And then I try to wait at least 3 minutes before they go again. And so they'll have to go to the iPad to run the tablet. They'll then be the one that, cheers them on or whatever it is. So they kind of have like these different roles. Oh, can you hold the box? Because today's a heavy day, so they don't drag the box with them, right? So the idea is that give them some roles, or try to minimize how long they're in a line. So get in, get out, get in, get out.
Very good idea. The roles, I might steal that from you. The roles is a great idea to keep kids engaged, because, I mean, that's one of the first things that I learned when I started specifically the training is when lines form, focus goes fast, especially with younger ones. Focus is gone right away. So that's a very, very nice little tip there that I'm going to steal from you. Hope you don't mind.
No, please do.
Very cool. Very cool. So let's take it way back. I see that you were born in Hawaii.
Yes.
And you started playing sports around 4. What sports did you play? What really caught your eye? How did you get from Hawaii to California? What was that all like?
Yeah. So grew up on the island of Kauai. My family I was born in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, but my family road tripped out to Hawaii when I was 3 years old. So not born there, but raised there on the island of Kauai, and played soccer. That was kind of the main sport growing up. But in the yard, I have 2 siblings, so I have a sister and a brother, and we were constantly active, right? So football in the yard, rollerblading, frisbee, whatever you name it, basketball, we did it. Golf, broke a few clubs. Don't trust me with a brand new 9-iron. I will probably break it. But my mom, my dad does construction, and my mom was a nurse growing up, and so I kind of have this family base of creativity, and we'd build forts out of boxes and things like that. So the entrepreneur mindset was kind of like, hey, you guys want to go to a soccer tournament on another island, you have to raise the money for it. And so my sister and I would get on our bikes and go sell chocolates or pizza, chicken, like you name it. We had tickets, car wash tickets, constantly sold things in the neighborhood. So that's where my entrepreneur mindset came from. But my love for sports just came from the fact that we were always an active family.
Right.
And when I got to college, I majored in kinesiology. I went to the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And then I also fell in love with, because my mom was the nursing side, I fell in love with the injury sides of sports. And so I actually got a master's degree, got certified as an athletic trainer. And my first gig coming to California. So in Hawaii, I think at the time you could get a high school position, because there's just really not many levels above that in Hawaii. Probably starting pay was low 30K, like 30,000. And I was like, okay, well, you can't survive in Hawaii on that. Let me go to the Bay Area where there's a lot more sports. I had an internship at Stanford, so I took that. And that was just with their general sports. So not football, but any of the other sports. And that's where I really fell in love with strength and conditioning. I had my dual certification, but I really, really enjoyed the performance side of sports. And so After my internship, I had a couple part-time jobs, one as an athletic trainer at Santa Clara University and one as a strength conditioning coach at a high school. And I fell in love with the high school level. I always used to think that growing up, if you didn't make it to the pros, you didn't really make it. My elevator pitch, I said, I trained high school athletes. I failed. How did I get to high school only? Like what happened? What went wrong? I thought I was smart, but no, it's what did my personality vibe with? What did it match with? And high schoolers all day. So I spent a decade, 11, 12 years at the high school level, being a strength and conditioning coach. Absolutely loved it. My last few years at the high school level, I was asked to be the sprint coach, one of the sprint coaches for the track team. And then that's where I realized, or when COVID hit, right? You had to do everything outside. Yep. You now had to realize that, okay, all we can really do is speed or body weight exercises. Shoot, I don't know anything about speed. I really knew nothing about speed. Like schools didn't really teach us, or college didn't really teach me about mechanics. I hadn't run track as a kid myself. And so that's where I ran into Les Spellman, just via social media, following him and guys at Sports Academy. And I, because it was COVID, they did an online program for women only. And Les and Cece did an amazing job being able to just give me foundation, as well as the other ladies that were on the call, but just a foundation of speed. And that's where it was like, ooh, science meets my energy level. Oh, I'm taking off. So it took off from there. I still to this day, 6 years later, have a great relationship with them and credit them for the success that I've had. So
very cool. Very cool. I saw on there that you were the first woman in California to win State Coach of the Year.
Yeah, for strength conditioning at the high school level.
That's still very cool.
Yeah.
What was that process like? Like what did you do to earn that, and what was that process all like?
Yeah. Do I still think I earn it? I don't know. There's so many great coaches out there. And I know that there's several that could have come before me, but the process was being nominated by another coach, was at a rival high school, and it was awesome because I didn't see it coming at all. And cool. So once you were nominated, then you at least had to then, give them a spiel about who you are and a few letters of recommendation. I didn't have to do much myself other than just kind of show a little bit of what I do. But I think what really got me that award was just the people around me with killer letters of recommendation, absolutely killers. And it came from the president of the high school I was working at, as well as a longstanding member, one of the coaches and faculty members who'd been there for over 20 years, and just kind of prided on or focused on not necessarily, the knowledge base of strength and conditioning, but more so how I interacted with kids, how I made it the weight room, which was their first weight room they had built at the school. I was the first hired strength coach at their school, and how I just opened it up to every student around. Everybody felt welcome, whether you were a kid that was a robotics kid or whether you're a faculty member who, hadn't stepped foot in a weight room for a decade.
Very important.
Opening the gym up for everybody, having this mentality of everybody belongs up here. We're going to have a great time, right? Yep. Music was always playing. It was always bright. But at the same time too, I was very, I'm very analytical and detailed. And so I try to teach as I coach, just like I do nowadays, I guess. So yeah, I guess all of that was kind of compiled into their letters of recommendation. And go figure, I won an award, which is awesome. I was stoked about it. Don't get me wrong. I celebrated.
Yeah, you're being very humble about it. It sounds like you're doing a lot of great work over there.
But my biggest thing is that I'm never at the finish line, and so when there's an award along the way, but I haven't finished. I don't know if I'll ever be finished. I don't think we ever will.
Probably not. No.
I don't think I'll ever fully think that I deserve an award, but celebrate. Yeah, absolutely. I'll celebrate it.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Awesome. That's very, very cool. I had to ask you about that because I was curious about what all went into that. Let's dive in a little bit about your business specifically, kind of how CoachIQ, you've been a very long tenured customer of CoachIQ from what I see. So what does like a typical week look like for you? Like you're running group sessions, I see on your website, group sessions, privates, camps, online. How do you manage all that yourself? Because I sure can't. Even with CoachIQ and all of the features they have, is a lot even for me. Like I have a manager and a staff now. What does it look like for you in a week?
Yeah, I juggle. I taught myself how to juggle a lot.
I respect that.
Yeah, so I started my business in January of 2024. So I basically just hit 2 years.
Okay.
And I think maybe I was in my business for a week. And that's when I got CoachIQ. I was looking for a platform to have a website. And before that, I only knew about Shopify, or Wix and things that were more for sales. And I was like, that's not quite it. And luckily, just a football coach colleague who had done side programming and stuff had a CoachIQ website. I was like, oh, give me that. How do I get onto that? Because that's what I need. And at first, actually the first year and a half, I didn't use the website and all the offerings to its full potential, which I am doing still. I still am not using it to the full ability that I could be because of the fact that I have to juggle a lot. But I started out with scheduling everything myself, but I wanted to have a place that was professional, that if people were like, yo, who's that girl in the corner? If I gave them a business card, it actually came to something that looked good. Mm-hmm. And I'm really someone who likes to control things. If I want to edit something or post a camp, I didn't want to constantly have to be going through a web designer for that, because having middlemen, there's just always that time component. You always have to wait. And so the fact that CoachIQ, you could design your own thing, edit it as you go, post pictures, put the design, color, everything to your own customization. I was like, yes, sign me up. I like that. And so it wasn't until September of last year so about a year and a half in my business, that I started actually using the scheduling side and the portal side. Mm-hmm. So where actual athletes, or parents, I guess for that matter, could come onto my website, purchase a package, book, have a login, and then they schedule everything. They can see the schedule themselves. And so when I finally went over to that, it was a game changer, because I would spend an hour every morning. In the summer, I would have camps in the morning and my sessions in the evening. And so just being able to say to everybody, like, hey, reminder, we're at this time today at this field, wear this. Yep. Are you coming? Yep. Even just, are you coming? Because if I had a session that was full, it wasn't like someone could go on and check if there was a slot available. And so constantly I'd have kids cancel last second, for good reasons, right? They're sick or they got hurt or whatever it may be. Yeah. And I didn't have the ability to get someone else in that slot. And so I was like, all right, I got to change to what the actual portal offers. Let's do that. And so it was a bit of it took me a few days to really get the hang of it. But now it's like, doop, 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 doop. All right, I'm good.
What did you use before? What were you using, like Google Sheets or anything? That's what I used.
Oh yeah, Excel
before.
spreadsheet. Oh, all day. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Still have it just for the purpose of like looking back at where I started.
Yep. Same
but
here.
It was. The cool thing is that it started in January of 2024. I didn't even need a spreadsheet. I had 3 athletes. Like I had one hour a week at a park. I could fit anywhere I wanted. I could fit on a sidewalk, right? Yeah. Like I didn't have athletes. And so it wasn't until probably April or May where I started actually needing to organize where kids are on what day at what session, because now I had like 3 sessions a week.
Yeah.
Right? It was a slow start. So nowadays I have about 12 to 14 sessions a week, depending on kind of the flow of seasons. I run a lot of mini camps, and I have all the signups, the forms filled out, waivers signed, signups. Parents can automatically go onto the portal, sign up, schedule, book something. Yeah. I think the only thing I still want to do is have a back end on the portal that has videos for kids to do for homework. Programs for kids to follow on their own. I really want to be able to support them more. I just haven't had time to really dive into that, because there's a little bit of a learning curve for me to figure out how to do that, and a lot of filming. I got to actually film all the videos. So I'm just making excuses at this point. If I really want to get it done, I can get it done. So challenge me. I'll get it done.
Okay. We'll hold you to that. There is the programs feature. When I first started, I was the same. I've been with CoachIQ since literally one athlete. When I first started, I luckily did all my filming, did all my programs when I had all the extra time. And the programs feature is really cool, like being able to time release stuff, like, hey, you have to do this Monday, it'll send a notification. I haven't yet implemented like weekly homework, but that's something that I think is massive when it comes to being able to offer like a membership at my gym, at your program. Is yes, you get these 1 or 2 or 3 in-person sessions, however much you come, however you structure it, but you also have to do this at home. And I think it's important too for kids when it comes to an athlete development perspective, which is why we all do this, for them to be able to also be self-sufficient and be able to understand on their own how, like, I have to work this hard. I have to work as hard as I did in class. This is how I think about things on my own. Of course, because we're not going to be with them, on the field, on the court. So I think that is a huge asset to families, and specifically if anybody has a private sports coaching business, something that's very valuable to add. And I think everybody should to some degree. But yeah, that's awesome points there. You kind of talked about a lot of what you do. What, aside from managing everything on your own, what do you feel has been the hardest part? Has it been, because I mentioned to you, I have a good friend that's in the sports performance field. Has it been educating parents about why they need your service, why it's important? Has it been like the weekly upkeep? What has running that business, what has been the hardest or most challenging part that you think, besides, of course, juggling everything?
Hey, I just want to take a quick break. My name is Russell. I'm one of the founders of CoachIQ. We put on this podcast here. Our goal is to interview top coaches and business owners in the youth sports space across the United States and give you guys insight on the ground floor. How are they running their business? What do they think about the current ecosystem? And what are their thoughts on where things are going? So we're super excited to bring this to you guys. If you don't know about us, we are an all-in-one sports management platform. We run a lot of the businesses that we have on the podcast. And we're fortunate enough now to work with about 1,000 sports coaches across the United States. And it's our goal to make your life as easy as possible in running the business itself. Website, scheduling, payment management, everything handled seamlessly on our platform. And really what separates us is we are built specifically for sports. We're not powering nail salons. We're not powering Pilates studios. Every second of the day, we focus on you. So if that's something you need, where you're looking to get your time back or you're looking to actually grow your business, CoachIQ is really the only platform thinking about you every single day, interviewing and working with the top coaches in the industry, specific to sports. So if that's something we can help you with, we would love to connect with you. You can visit our website, coachiq.com, schedule a free demo there. The demos are awesome. It's really less about selling and much more about just walking through what we've learned and providing value on what other coaches are doing. And if it's a match, it's a match. So absolute no-brainer. Go schedule a demo, totally worth the time. And thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for customers who are working with us. It allows us to do all this, make better product, and the main goal, help athletes all across the United States and the world get a phenomenal experience from you guys, the coaches.
That is a solid question. I would say that it has changed. You asked me last month. I'll tell you there's probably a different challenge than this month. And at first, I think when I was first starting out, I think it was keeping my emotions even keel. And luckily I have a really good support system in my family that helped me do that. So when somebody would cancel last second and I didn't quite have a very structured cancellation policy, right? It was more like, all right, you doing it within 30 minutes of the sessions, that's cruel. It's cruel.
Yeah, it is.
Any private trainer out there. But being able to really dive in and put customer service first. And that was a challenge for me at first because I wanted to make money. I needed to make money. I was on my own, living in California, starting my business out, right? There's these bills, there's things that I want to invest in to have more equipment or whatever it is. And so when people cancel on you last second, don't just, blow up. And instead it's like, okay, what would you say? How would you handle this? Or what would you do, right? And they're like, okay, well, beautiful. Well, now that I've established a really good rapport with parents and they understand that if they cancel I give them up to 4 hours to cancel. That way I could still have, someone potentially check in last second to take that slot, which is nice because that's now happened since September when I jumped on the portal. I would say now it's just, I don't know. I do really well with obstacles because I find them to be fun. I like to use this analogy. I play basketball. I actually played this morning. And
Nice.
it would stink if someone just let you always have a free layup. It's not fun when you, okay, yeah, just go ahead and score. Just go ahead and score. Like, I want to earn this layup, right?
Yeah.
And so whenever there's a challenge or whenever there's things that like making reels on social media, right? Like, I'm my own social media marketer, scheduler, person that tries to reach out to other coaches to see for camps, or having to give proposals to people who reach out to me, and being able to do all that. Just started with homeschool kids, right? Opening up my schedule during the day to now have somewhat of a little bit of a sporadic schedule, but nonetheless, I love what I do. And just being able to go at it with a level of professionalism, but also making sure that am I growing in the direction I want to grow? And so the biggest challenge for me now is making sure that the image that I create, the brand that I create, is what I want to grow into and what keeps attracting people to my business. So standing up for myself for parts of my business and who I represent and what I do, and then also at the same time too, constantly learning things where I realize there's a gap in maybe my education here and there. How do I best, create a complete program so people don't necessarily have to go somewhere else for X, Y, and Z. I can offer X, Y, and Z. So
right, 100%. That point you mentioned about, standing up for yourself, I think that's one of the harder things to do for, newer trainers, newer coaches in the field. And I know for me, kind of touching on a CoachIQ feature here that helped me a lot with that was the cancellation feature, like with their credits and everything. Do you use that? Is that what you use?
I do.
Yes. That helped me a lot, just overcome that. Like, instead of getting a text and saying, hey, can we cancel? And me being like, yeah, but I'm still charging you. They just would understand. I noticed a lot more parents would just be like, oh, I didn't make it. I understand. And then just move on. So I think being able to overcome that hurdle, which was one of the more daunting things when I first started. I don't know about you. You mentioned it, but that was huge. So that was a big thing that I wanted to touch on for newer trainers, because I'm sure there's plenty out there that are just starting out. Speaking of newer trainers, what have you figured out now that you wished you knew when you first started? Like, if you had to tell yourself when you first started this private training business, what would that be? That number one thing?
Yeah, get the website up sooner. Or not the website. The website was up, but get the scheduling sooner. That hands down would have made a big difference. Like, I was using I would get these text messages where it's like, hey, we have to cancel. And I'm like, okay, first one's on you. Next one, it's like, okay, how did I tell somebody that it was like, all right, at what point is it not okay to cancel last second, right? Mm-hmm. And so, being able to have I don't know if there's anything else out there like CoachIQ, where, you have this whole scheduling thing where people cancel last second, but it's geared around private coaches. And it's just phenomenal what, anything I think of is like, hey, can I do this? And it's like, yeah, you can. Russell's like, yeah, you can do this exactly. Or, they give me, hey, here's a whole back end on the tutorial of how to do that. So for newer coaches, getting a schedule, having it be automated, having emails be automated, reminders be automated, saves you a ton of time, also makes you look professional. I would highly recommend doing that. I wish I did that sooner. I'm really glad I do it now, but I would highly recommend doing that sooner. Yeah. I mean, other than customer service, right? So customer service always comes number one, being transparent, right? So in my automated text messages to families, if they sign up for a booking, I set up an automated text message that morning that'll go out that say, hey, reminder, if you need to switch or cancel your session, just do it before 4 hours. Otherwise, you forfeit that credit. So I'm not over here trying to sneak in like, hey, if you can't get it within 4 hours, sorry, right? It's more like, here's the transparency. This is the policy. I'm going to be a grown up about this. Here's the policy. Yeah. I'm not hiding it. I'm going to enforce it. Maybe the first time you're 1 minute late, like, oh my gosh, I meant to cancel. I totally forgot. I'm 15 minutes behind the thing. Is there any way I can still do that? Of course, the first time, again, customer service comes first, right? Understanding that parents are also all over the place. So, the first time, yes, absolutely, I'll switch it. Next time, just try to get it before 4 hours. I got you. And then that also builds the rapport and the trust. So, advice for young people that I did well would definitely be putting customers first, but also to having that honest conversation and that policy in place where, that first time might slide, but after that, here's the policy. And being very stern on that I'm glad I did part of it. I wish I did the other part sooner.
Yeah. The automated texts and reminders, emails, however you send them out is massive because there's no excuse, right? There's no like, I forgot to send you a reminder. There's no like me having to say, oh, just so you know, I have to text every parent. It's just, they get it. And they get the automation every single time. So everything is clear. Everything is transparent. Like you said, that first time you can always throw them a bone, say it's okay, and they appreciate that. But after that, you got to be strict on it. And it's that transparency is huge. But yeah, those are some awesome points. I just have a couple more questions I want to ask you before we get off here. Had some awesome points here. So over 100 of your athletes have went on to play college sports, right? Like you love the high school scene. What is, like, I know how I have my stories that I love from kids. What is a story that has stuck with you? Because, we coach, for the kids, right? Like, of course we have to run our business, make a living, but ultimately it's for kids to build them up, to either take them to college or just give them confidence. What is a story off the top of your head that sticks with you about a certain kid that went on to play college or just in general?
Yeah. Number one person that comes to mind, his name is Austin Ajike, and he currently plays for the Indianapolis Colts. Okay. He's an NFL player. Yeah. So he's on the 53-man roster. This is his first year where he actually signed to the 53-man roster. He was on the practice squad all last year. He bounced around teams the year before that. College-wise, he played at UNLV. But so when I was at the high school level, I was his strength and conditioning coach. Actually, correction, I was not his strength and conditioning coach. I was made very clear that I'm the strength and conditioning coach of the school, but football I couldn't touch. Oh, and okay. Yeah, that's another story. But either way,
I can imagine.
Luckily, I had him in my weight training class. And so he took weight training, and obviously it was during season. So there was, he was still doing the football trainings with their coach. And for me, we would dive in on things that more rehab based stuff, because he played quarterback, running back, linebacker. He never came out. Like this kid never came out. He was a beast. And one of the things I think that I'll remember the most is that I got to take him and his younger brother. I led immersion trips to Tijuana. Okay. So to build houses. And so to be able to get an athlete that not only trusts you in the weight room, but also like, hey, I was with you as you experienced this entirely world-changing view and perception of poverty, and or also how can you help, right? And then fast forward to now him being in the NFL, where he gets to actually go out and do service. I've seen him at multiple hospitals, posting how he's helping kids. He's coming back to the Bay Area and doing a camp this summer, and being able to kind of instill that in him at a younger age, like, hey, service is going to be a powerful thing. If you can make it to the next level, it's going to be powerful. So training aside, I always put training aside, because X's and O's, that's not where the impact I make, right? I could make a mediocre program. We can do it consistently. You might get to the next level. Great. Right. Yeah. What matters to me is, like, do coaches respect you? Are you coachable? Do you have a great attitude? Can you bounce back from adversity? Yeah. So he had gotten injured in high school, helped him out with some rehab stuff as he was going through his senior year. His senior night, he actually gave me his jersey, which I know pissed a few people off. I think that was hilarious. I was like, me? Okay, I'm down. They're like, how do you know her? You shouldn't be in the weight room with her. I was like,
oh, sorry.
I'm a teacher. Too bad. Anyway, but just being able to watch him in college, stay supportive. I can't wait to still go to a game yet for him being in his 53-man roster. They didn't catch it this year. I definitely will next year. But just watching him grow, and and even too, coming from the family background that he had, right? There's days where it was like, hey, you didn't have gas money. Hey, there's days where you didn't have lunch money, right? And it was like, how can I help, as a teacher, as a supporter, with any kid for that matter, but not, break any rules, right? So how can I be supportive and help you see, okay, how can you help yourself, right? So teaching kids how they can be their own little entrepreneurs, right? So my parents taught me, if you're trying to go to a tournament, you better sell as many cookies as you can. Oh, by the way, you have to bake them. Oh, by the way, out of your profit comes what it costs to bake them. I'm not paying for it. So, being able to also help kids and athletes understand about their finances early on, or just the structure of professional development early on, the mental mindset of things. That's probably what's, just coaches and coaches and coaches. Yes, we've gotten them to the next level. But at the end of the day, what happens between ear and ear and what you think of yourself and the confidence and what other people think of you and are you coachable and that's how you get to the next level. So very proud of his story. Super proud of his story. He's father of 2 now and happily married. So it's a beautiful thing to see.
That's very cool. You're gonna have to send me his name. I'm in Indiana, so I'm right near the Colts.
There you go. Yeah, number 58. He's a linebacker.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check him out. That's very cool, and I think that is where the role of the private trainer and why I believe so much and why I even wanted to join on with CoachIQ. Like, of course, building the business is great. I love that I can make a living, and you can, and all these coaches can. But for us to be able to make a living and do this full time, it increases the odds that we have a chance to make an impact on somebody in that way. So I think that's really where the role of the private trainer is, because at least in basketball, and I'm sure you've heard these stories a million times, like their sport coaches in basketball at their school, like they might not like them, they might take their confidence away, or even maybe a parent sometimes that happens, and like we don't have any bias, right? Like we don't have any outside bias. We don't have people donating to the team, so we have to have their kid over them. Like we don't have any of that, right? Like we just accept the kids as they are and just pour into them. It's very simple. So that's where I think our role is. And I mean, your story showed it exactly. So that's very, very cool. Very awesome. Last question I got for you is, what's next? Where are you going? What's your plans for 2026? What do you hope to have done by the end of the year? Where are we?
Well, I will continue to look for facilities to see if I can expand a little bit there and maybe get another person also as a Toy Soldier staff member so I can help even more. Get a portal online where I have homework programming and stuff, or even like some knee rehab or some ankle rehab stuff, just giving more education and videos for things that they could do. Keep going on trips where I get to go to places I want to visit, but also learn stuff. So CEUs and continuing education in cool places. I know Altus and Team Speed and all that, they're going to be, I think, in Brazil in October. Okay. I was like, oh, I'm there. So,
fine, I'll go. All right.
Yeah. Continuing to give back to the kids in Hawaii. I go out there every 3 months for camps. I continue that. Very cool. That would be awesome. Sponsor more of the kids out in Hawaii. I'm very blessed and here in California, and to be able to go back to Hawaii and be able to sponsor more kids like their registration for their soccer, or whatever sport they play, because some of them can't afford the registration fees. And so being able to support, or they just have multiple kids in their family, and like my parents, it was like, all right, you either got to go hustle or we got to find some people for sponsorship. And so I'd love to be more Toy Soldier scholarships for my own training, more help with people who are less financially stable, surprising people with grocery gift cards, just honestly giving back more. I think that's on my plate for 2026, because I feel like if you give more, you actually receive a lot more than you think. And so, I plan on giving more.
Yes, that's a principle that I personally try to live by. Business life is the more you give, the more you receive. So giving is important. That's a good goal to have. Well, awesome. Michelle, it sounds like you have something very, very cool going on out there. I would love for you to plug all your socials. We'll put them up on the screen and everything, but go ahead, tell everybody where they can find you, your website, what your Instagram is, and whatever your social medias are.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Everything's the same. Toy Soldier Training. So if it's Instagram, it's Toy Soldier Training. If it's my email, toysoldiertraining@gmail.com. If it's my website, www.toysoldiertraining.com. So trying to just keep everything the same.
Good branding advice there for everybody. Very cool. Michelle, thank you for being on. This was awesome. I really enjoyed our conversation. Of course, if you ever need any help, always reach out to us. We are happy to help you out.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. You as well. You have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks for having me.